Okay, it's time to draft that sleeve. So I will be using the sleeve measurement chart for size 6. Has all my measurements already recorded except for my armhole measurement. So to do that, I need to pull out my back bodice and my front bodice and measure the armhole and go ahead and mark it here. Looks like they measure the front, the back, and they add it together. Then they do a little math, they divide it in half, and they add a 1/4 inch, and that's the measurement we want to put down here. So let's go ahead and try that. All right, so looks like my arm's a little messy with my red ink. I see I crossed out this line, I crossed out that line, so just be real careful. You're measuring the correct line. I'm starting my ruler at that line right there. That's where my 1 is. And I want to only measure when my tape is on the line, so I kind of have to pivot it every so often to get the actual measurement. Okay. Okay, it looks like I got 8 inches and 1/8. Write that down before I forget. Okay. There you go. So that was my back bodice. That was my back. And I got 8 and 1/8. Okay. Time to measure the front. Good measurements are half the battle. Okay, looks like I have 7 and 7/8. Add them together. Well, I'm lucky that the bottom numbers are the same. 7 plus 1 is 8. 7 plus 8 is 15. 8/8 can be reduced to 1. So 1 plus 15 is 16. Okay. Divide in half and add a 1/4 inch. 16 divided by 2 is 8 plus 1/4. Okay. So it looks like I need, this will be 8 and 1/4. So figure 2 says draw a line on paper, mark and label it as below. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw a line. Make it really long. Okay, and it wants A to be my sleeve length. So I'm gonna mark A at the top, right here. I'm gonna put A. And my sleeve length measurement is 21.5 inches. So I realize this is getting cut off on the camera. So I marked my ruler at 18 inches, and then I just have to add 3.5. And I'm gonna mark it B at the bottom. So sorry that's getting cut off. It's just a really long line. A to C is my cap height. My cap height measurement is 5.5 inches. Okay, and I'll put the letter C right here. Okay. And now they want to do C to D, which is 1/2 of C to B. So I have to measure C to B. And on my ruler, I'm getting 16 inches. Half of 16 is 8. So I'm marking 8 inches, and I'm writing the letter D, which I know gets cut off, and I apologize. Okay. Now that we want to do D to D, and that's just 3/4 inch. We're going to mark in square lines from A, C, and D. Okay, so I drew D. Let's see if I can bring the camera. There we are. I'm just going to go 3/4 inch below it. I started at 8, so here's 3/4 inch, right? And you also get to be D, apparently. And then it wants me to square lines. So I'm just lining up my ruler on that straight line so that this new line I draw is perfect 90-degree angle. I'm going to do that down at the bottom at B, which is getting cut off right now. I'm going up and I'm going to do that to C as well. Just squaring off some good old-fashioned lines. And I'm going to scoot this down and do it to A as well. There we are. Squaring off. Okay, take our armhole measurement and place the ruler at A and pivot that ruler until that measurement will hit our bicep line. So letter C here is our bicep line, just in case we forget. So they want us to start at A and rotate it. So our armhole measurement that I had was 8 1/4 from that little formula they had. So I'm going to start it here. I'm going to keep it on A and rotating it until 8 1/4 hits the line. It looks like it gets cut off. Let me see if I can scoot this over. There we are. So see how it can kind of rotate. So for me, 8 1/4 would be this line. I need to rotate the ruler where the tip stays at A, and I rotate it until 8 1/4 hits the line. I think it's right there. It's good. Oops. Always got to wiggle on me. There we are. Okay, so that line's 8 1/4. And I'm wondering if I need to do that to the other side. They don't really specify, but for now I'm just going to do it. Okay. Okay. So now we need to figure out C to E is going to be 1/2 of the bicep measurement. So my bicep measurement for size 6 is 12 1/2. So 12 1/4. And they want me to divide that by 2. So I know half of 12 is 6. Half of 1/4, it's hard to divide 1 into 2. So if I change 1 to 2, if I times it by 2, I would have to times the bottom 4 by 2, which is 8, and I could divide that in half because 8 would stay the same, but I could say 2 divided by half is 1. So 6 1/4 is the measurement. And again, use your fraction calculator if you're having trouble with fractions, or go to the Learning Center and practice on the DLA that we have there and use their free tutors. Okay, so I need to mark C to E is going to be 6 1/8. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, now we've done this before in the past, and some students, especially if you are using your own measurements, sometimes their E went further, sometimes it went not further. Mine, of course, landed perfectly because I think I'm just using the size 6, which is easy. So I would say don't fret if yours goes further, just go with it. Okay. And so I'm lucky because mine lands right on top. Our instructions say you might have 2 marks. They want you to compare the 2 and just mark your bicep in between. So like if you did this and you got E over here, they just want you to mark right here, and that's going to be your new line to A. So yeah. So once you figure out where E is going to be, whether it is that original line you drew or if it's going to be scooted a little bit, we need to now divide this into 4ths. So in order to do that, I need to measure it. So mine is 8 1/4, but again, if you redrew it, you might have a new measurement. So I have to divide 8 1/4 into 4. Oh boy. Okay, this is gonna be so hard. So 4 divided by 8, or 8 divided by 4 is 2, I know that, but how do I divide 4 into 1/4? Well, I think the easiest thing is to times 1/4 by 4, and then that would be 4 times 4 is 16. Now I can divide 4 into 4, and it's 1, and you just leave 16. Okay, So my answer is 2 1/16. I need to mark that. Maybe another way is if I folded the paper in half and folded it again. That's another way to mark it by 4s and to get out of the math. Okay, so 2 inches and 1/16. 2 inches and 1/16. This better be 2 inches and 1/16. Yay, it is. I did my math correct. Yay. Okay. And that's going to be G, H, K. So whatever C to E is, that's what C to F is going to be. We're going to copy. So mine looks like my C to E is 6 1/8. So 6 1/8 is going to be F. So again, if you ended up moving your E, you want to move it over here too. We're again going to divide this into fourths, this line right here. So 8 1/4 divided by 4 is 2 1/16. Luckily, I've already did that math. And that's going to be L, M, and N. Down at the bottom, we're going to mark B to O, which is going to be 2 inches less than C to E. So my C to E for me is 6 1/4. So 6 1/4 minus 2 equals 4 1/4. So they just want 4 1/4 right here, and that will be O. And then whatever this measurement is, 4 1/4, they also want that to go over here on the other side and label it the letter P. Draw a line from O to E. That's right up here. Again, my camera shot's getting cut off a little bit, but I'm connecting O to E, and I'm going to connect P to F. Oops. Okay. Okay. Figure 3. We're going to square out lines from the following. So on G, going in, we're marking 3/8. So to square it off, I line up my ruler to follow that line, and I'm just going to mark 3/8. So this is where you want to make sure you're confident in how to read this ruler. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. That's 3/8. Then with H, I'm going out 1/4 inch, squaring it out. And K, I'm going out 5/8 inch. Make sure it's squared out. Okay, so this distance was 5/8 inch. Right here we had just 1/4, 1/4, and this little guy on the inside is 3/8 inch. We're gonna do the same on the other side, but L is gonna be 3/4. So I'm just lining up my ruler to follow this line so that this new line I'm drawing is squared off. That's 3/4 inch. And we're doing 3/16. Oh, it's so teeny. So 1, 2, 3. Just a little guy. And for N, we're doing 1/2 inch on the inside. Okay, there's our 1/2 inch. Great, okay. So you want to get those markings going, and then we can move on to figure 4. Figure 4, we're going to do our best to try to draw these curves. You can use the French curves tools if you like. So they're lining up A and K and trying to get pretty close to H. And then they get another one, and they're lining up E and G and trying to kind of have it blend together. Okay, so oh boy. Okay, and then we're gonna flip it and do the other side as well. using our marks. We want to get F, we want to hit N, we want to hit A, all the way to L's little big mark we got, an N. There it is, lovely. S. So let's work on that little elbow dart. Great, so this line we're now calling, well, I guess the one over here on the right, I'm putting the letter S. I know it's cut off, but here, let's see. Where's the letter S? Okay, we're drawing, okay, extend line R, which we're supposed to mark R. 1/4 inch and draw a line from R to E. Okay, so they want this little line to go out 1/4 inch right here, and he's gonna be R, and they want us to reconnect R up to E at the top. Okay. R to U, they just want us to mark 1 inch. It looks like straight down. That gets to be U. And then T to U is gonna be the same distance as R to T, because this is gonna be a little dart. I forgot to mark T, didn't I? So T is 1/2 of R to D. So R to D is 5.5, half of 5.5. Oh boy. Well, half of 5 is 2.5. I do know that. Half of 1/2, you might have that memorized by now. It's 1/4, but if not, if you times this by 2, you have to times this by 2. So 2/4 divided by 2, 2 goes into 2 one time. So plus 1/4. Now to add this up, we need this to be 4. So if we times it by 2, it will be 4. Then we have to times this by 2. So it actually equals 2 3/4. Okay, that's T. So R to T is 2 3/4, so they want R to U to also be 2 3/4 because it's going to be a dart. Okay, let's see here. My ruler is kind of big. There we go. Okay. So that's actually going to end up to be U for me, because now when I sew these two dart legs together, they'll both be 2 3/4, so they'll be the same length. So now you get her, or the real U. Okay. They want the wrist to go in a little bit, so O to V, they say mark in 3/4 inch. Make sure that's on the camera for you to see. Okay, so 3/4 inch. It's right here. Okay, that's V for right now. Draw a line from U through V equal to S to P. And then we'll label that W. So S to P is on the other side. So S to P, it looks like I have 8 inches. Okay, so they want U through V to be 8 inches. Here we are. And that gets to be W. W to X equals the same distance as O to P. Okay, so O to P is 8.5. So they want W to hit this line at 8.5 inches. So this is 8.5. I guess that gets to be X. Did you see that on the screen? So 8.5 inches hitting this line, and that's what gave that X. Okay. And they want us to draw a slightly curved line. This might be too curved. Maybe I do this. Okay. Just did real slight curve here. Alrighty, and it looks like we are finished. We just need to mark our ease control notches. So on the back, we're gonna notch 1/2 inch up from G. So here's G, this is 1/2 inch. And to know later that this is the back, I'm gonna put 2 notches. Double notches signify the back. Okay, and then the front, I'm gonna mark 1/2 inch above N. So there's N, 1/2 inch, and I'm just doing 1 notch, and that will tell me later this is the front, because you don't want to sew the front to the back bodice. It'll just fit weird and funny. Okay, our next step is determining our cap ease. We need to transfer our sleeve notches to our front and back bodice and make sure we have a good amount of ease, not too much. So in your book on page 59, they are walking the sleeve pattern on the actual bodices. So it has to be cut out to do that. Mine's not cut out yet because I'm still sort of truing it up. So I'm going to use measuring tape. To start, I'm gonna measure the distance of my notches on the back side. Well, actually, I'll start with the front since that's where the camera is. So marking where the first notch is, and I'm just measuring it. It looks like it's 2 inches and 5/8. So I want to go to my front sleeve and mark 2 inches and 5/8. So on my front bodice, I'm going 2 inches and 5/8. Okay, and that's where the easing is going to start. I need to do the same thing on the back as well. Mark those double notches. Then what I'm going to do is I want to measure the distance from this notch to the top of my arm, and I want to add that to the back. So right now, this measurement (5 1/4 inches from notch, and I want to add that to the back side. So to do that, I need to add the notch to the back side. So my notch on the back side of the sleeve is placed, okay, 2 3/4. So I need to place a notch on the back, also 2 3/4. And this is the back, so there's 2 notches. Okay. So I'm now measuring the distance. Okay, looks like I'm getting 5 1/8 from notch. So 5 1/8 plus 5 1/4. 1/4 is the same as 2/8 if I times both by 2. 5 plus 5 is 10, and 3/8. Okay, so it's going to be 10 3/8 from notch to notch. I wonder what the distance is on my sleeve. If it's also 10 3/8, but since we want to ease, it should be more than 10 3/8. starting at the back notch. I'm starting at this one. Measure right on my line. Pivoting along the line so I can get the most accurate measurement. And notch, it looks like it is 11 3/4. Okay, so 11 3/4 is my sleeve notch to notch. 10 3/8 was my bodice, was 10 3/8. So I want to know what is the difference. So we had to do some math. Fun. So 11 3/4 minus 10 3/8. These need to be the same. If I times 4 by 2, it's 8. So I have to times this guy by 2, which is 6. 11 minus 10 equals 1. 6 minus 3 equals 3. Okay, so my distance is 1 3/8. So that means I'll have to ease it 1 3/8. This is longer by 1 3/8. And in your book, they tell you how to ease it by putting in some gathering into it. And what the book says is correct is if your number falls in between 1 1/4 and 1 1/2. So is 1 3/8 more than 1 1/4? If this is in eighths, we'd have to times by 2. So this is 2/8. So is 3/8 more than 2/8? Yeah, that's more. Is it less than 1 1/2? Well, to get an 8, you have to times him by 4, so this would be 4/8. And yeah, 3/8 is less than 4/8. So actually, I'm perfect. I don't have to adjust my cap ease. If you do need to, there are more instructions on page 62. Basically, the book will tell you to just make your sleeve a little bit longer to get more. Over here, make the curve, and you have to change this line, the underarm line. But hopefully you're pretty close. And honestly, if you're only 1 inch bigger, I would go with that because it's much easier to ease 1 inch. If you have 1 1/2 or more, well, if you have more than 1 1/2, for sure, try to change it so that either your sleeve armhole is bigger or your cap is smaller. But definitely don't let it be bigger than 1 1/2 or it's gonna be very difficult to sew together.